Hello, welcome back to Hoi 4, Equestria War. And in today's episode, we're heading back to Griffonia. But today we're doing something a little special, a little strange, a little unique. Something you probably have seen before because it's probably the most popular secret path that was for a while. But we're going to Yale. Yale is a nominal vassal of the Griffonian Empire, having served as the academic center of the empire for generations, with Yale's rectors eventually taking over the nation. However, as the Griffonian Empire declined over recent years, friction has emerged in the Yale rectorate. Yale lacks a strong national identity, and with the emperor simpler than ever, social divides are deepening. The country's leader, Rector Mikasusen, seeks to lead a moderate course, while revolutionary and reactionary universities try to mobilize discontent in Yale society for their own purposes. Will the light of Yale shine bright in the darkness, or will it be snuffed out like as many places of learning before? And we do want to go to custom, but we're going to make sure. The reason I'm going to custom, usually if I'm going to custom like aha, I want to make sure that he's the Lord Protectorate because I don't want to have to fight everyone. But in this case, I actually want to make sure the noble. Mostly because I just don't want him. I don't want the Lord Protectorate. That's the only path I really don't want. And I'm going with the noble just because he'll fight the North first. So yeah, that. Actually, I might go with the Arcanaut because that'll make him fight down south first. Because he'll have less time to prepare, but I'll also have less time to prepare. I'll go with the noble. But yeah, that's literally it. I just want to make sure that he does not go with the path that breaks up the empire, because I don't want the specific thing to happen. Now, there is an I haven't actually done the way where you let him do it, which is also an interesting one. I might show off the differences to some point in the future, but for now, this is the path I want to go. When you go over to the first, unified the Griffonian Empire in the 8th century ALB. After earlier management, the Duchy of Yeldon became one of the constituent states of the empire, ruled by a vassal duke. The sheer size of the empire and proximity to Griffonheim allowed Yale to specialize in providing university education to the imperial elite. Yale University is in the capital of the duchy, was founded in 765 ALB, with other Yalish cities soon following with their own centers of learning. Over the next century, these universities would attract students from all over the continent, growing in prestige and wealth within the duchy, while technologically advanced in the industrial age. However, the advent of industrialism saw the landowning nobility grow ever poorer, while the universities and cities blossomed. Yale itself lost more prominence in the place of Greenback, the industrial heart of the duchy. In the fateful year of 878, the ducal family was... Sorry about that, my game crashed. In the fateful year of 878, the ducal family was nearing bankruptcy, and they were forced to sell off their ducal title to Yale University itself. Then the prestigious institution ruled the country in their stead. As to not provoke the wrath of Griffonheim, Yale kept the nobility and the duchy alive in name, under the first rector, Magnificus of the country, Boren Weidengriff, polymath, architect, and scholar. The eccentric and charismatic father of modern Yale had the foresight and imagination to dream up inventions well ahead of its time, some which have still not been made into reality. He moved the capital from Yale to Greenback, a central location, finishing a shift in the center of power that started at the beginning of the 9th century. When the Republican Revolution swept through the imperial heartland in 978, Yale saw the majority of the nobility flee the country, and the universities took advantage of this by formalizing their power in the formation of the Yale Rectorate, vowing to strive for more autonomy from Griffonheim. Although the universities trained many Republicans, the Rectorate was on the fence between supporting either side, only throwing their weight behind the emperor when his victory was already certain. In 1007, ALB, university rule had stagnated, and the citizens of Yale feel alienated from the government. The empire is crumbling, but only the allegiance to the emperor and the perceived competence of the government is keeping the growing and impoverished lower class in check. If the Yale rhetoric wants to stay in power when the Emperor's influence retreats from the land and continue the scientific vision of Boren Wintergriff, it will have to win the hearts of the people. Rector Magnificus Mikusin, the leader of the Council of the Rectors, might soon be forced to make compromises with the more radical factions in the universities, who would like to pursue welfare through scientific innovations, caring for the common Griffin, through optimization of the government's efficiency. If he can accomplish this, perhaps Yale can remain a beacon of higher learning for all of Griffonia. Others seek to use science to advance their own ideologies. Gamma University sees ethics as hurting the pure pursuit of knowledge and seeks to undermine the ethical standards of research that keep science pure. For this, they have allied with Bruma University, which has strong backing from the Triarchy. The professor there believed that only religion can help restore the social bonds between the Griffins and their rulers. Crew Saval, however, they believe that these very bonds between authority and proletariat cause the suffering in Yale. In the red halls of the university, the professors teach that the march of history will only be complete when every unjust hierarchy is abolished. I'm not even going the communist path today, but for some reason, the only way I can hear like a communist speech is them going, and they're almost yelling as they're like shouting in like glorious revolution. It's like I can't imagine a not over the top communist for some reason. Media just portrays it so because it's so funny. Like for some reason, it just feels like they should be over the top. Like they can't just be like, so. How do you feel about communism? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? I'm personally a believer in it, but you know, like, my mind just doesn't see it that way. I feel like they have to be an over-the-top, over-believer in communism to be, like, the communist leader. If the Emperor's worshipping condition, decisive action might have to be taken soon. Whatever path is taken, Yale will be able to depend on its many bright minds to lead the rhetoric to prosperity. Yay. Alright. Come, hello? Wow, lag. There we go. That was a bit of lag right there. Jeesh. Sure, we'll put our knight in front like I like to do. Okay, we've got some basics. I would like a truck being built as well. Yeah, I'll keep that for now, I guess, but I'm probably not going to use it. Turn that off. Turn those off, turn those off. Good, good, good. There we go. Yep. Alright, that's all fine with me for now. We are going to completely ignore this part of the tree, completely ignore this part of the tree, and immediately begin this part of the tree. Alright, Rector Magnificus Mickelson, Unfeathered Imperialist. Rector Magnificence of Yale University and the praise of the Academic Council. Born into a middle-class family at the old capital of the Yale Rectorate, Mickelson lived through the turbulent tides of the Republican Revolution as a teenager. Although many students of the Yalish universities fought for various sides of the revolution, the country was spared the ravaging effects of war, with the Rectorate only choosing sides at the final moment of the conflict. The revolution left an impact on young Mickelson, who heard about the destruction of war could cause via radio and newspaper. I wonder what radio they heard that on. What radio could they have possibly heard that on, I wonder. Who knows. Like many young Yalish Griffins, Mickelson grew up with tales of the country's Ignabic founder, Boren Wintergriff, and the young Griffin devoured all of the famed polymath treatises during the Revolution. By the time he enrolled for philosophy in Yale's University, Mickelson was a firm believer in Boren's rationalist philosophy of achieving peace through scientific advancement. Living and studying in the hallowed halls of Yale only strengthened the students' belief. I said he strengthened the students' belief. Get out of here, phone! I said, get out of here. It would strengthen the students' belief, okay? Scammer. Strengthen the students' belief. Cannot believe they are like this. And by his second year, he decided he wanted to be a scientist and teach for himself. And so he did, finishing his studies without delay and writing his dissertation on the works of his idol, Pax Scientiam. A dream worth pursuing was a smash hit across the academic community, securing Mikazian a teaching position. The scientist proved to be a popular lecturer, and sometimes Griffins had to sit on the lecture hall stairs if they wanted to attend his vivid explanations of history, philosophy, and discussions of the future of Griffonia. A final twist came in 1001, with the elections for the position of rector. Urged by his students to stand, Mikazian won in a landslide, becoming the youngest rector of Yale since Baron Windengriff himself. Now the head of state and government of Yale, Mikazian has overseen the slow decay of the rectorate alongside the rest of the Griffonian Empire. The Griffin has never stopped dreaming of a different future. We also have some societal divides. For a long time, Yale's been divided between those who live in the marble halls of the universities and those who live without. But, you know, that's probably fine, right? Gerhard Silverbeak was born in 929 in the province of Osnabrück in the Strawberry Duchy. At the age of 18, he joined the prestigious Griffinheim Imperial Military Academy, completing an education as an engineer. For the next 45 years of his life, he would serve with distinction, proving especially resilient during the Republican uprisings, where his defensive doctrine proved the undoing of many Republican offensives. In 992, he retired from the Imperial Army with the rank of Major General. Since then, he has joined the Lohberg Academy as a professor, being an adamant proponent of the importance of defensive doctrine within modern warfare. Peter Zuckergriff, born in 978 in the capital city of Greenback, had always a love of cars and wished to have one for himself. Sadly for him, he was born in a rather poor family, so the best he could do was make believe with his friend. Everything changed, however, when he saw a sight which would stay with him for the rest of his life, a Panzer. From that day on, his one goal was to one day drive one of these beasts, so he begged his parents to be sent to the Clamar, a military academy who was famous for having a strange method of warfare in their lectures. With hard work, much studying, and some financial help from a professor at Clamar, Peter managed to become a student in 999 and quickly showed his teachers what knowledge he had. Even in his first year, he managed to come up with impressive theories on how to deploy tanks, developing the many roles of armored vehicles in warfare. Sadly for him, driving a tank was not possible for an officer, so Peter focused on revolutionizing the usage of tank in the Imperial Army. In his last year of Clamar, in 1003, he met with his pupil, Opfel von Kuchen, which ended in a close friendship between the two. Although a few Griffins insist that there was more to it than they would let on. After Zuckergriff graduated, he enlisted directly into the Yalish army, and to his surprise, he became a staff officer of the Major General Gerhard Silverbeak, who, while technically retired, was still in command of the Yale's field army. Gerhard took it into his claws to train Peter to become his successor, and while they both have very different ideas of how modern warfare will look, resulting in hour-long debates, Silverbeak still decided to train Zuckergriff. The old general major even got Affeld von Kuchen, a command position. Nice. Sabin Butcher. The life of Sabin Butcher as a young chick was a hard one, with her family being poor farmers in the region of Abingen. She watched most of her siblings die either because of sickness or, in one case, of starvation. At the young age of 14, she left her home quietly and went on a journey to the Imperial Crownlands, where she enlisted into the army under a false identity. After her training was done, she was sent to Yale for training, and she would end up studying in the Academy of Loughborough, thanks to a recommendation from her superior. Sabin's great memory served her well, but the training was hard for the peasant Griffin. In the end, she graduated, but just barely. In 963, during the next 10 years, she quietly rose up to the ladder in the Imperial Army. But then, as a shock to every Griffin, the Republican Revolution broke out. While she herself could understand the struggle of the Griffin, she could not betray her newfound friends, and so she whipped the Yalish military, which was on the verge of mutiny, back into shape, commanding many more troops than intended. The Rector in Yale rewarded her valiant action with nothing, wishing to remain neutral in the conflict. In spite of orders, Sabin still led her forces over the Yalish border to fight the Republicans, inspire nationalist fervor in Yale. When the Empire was re-established and the Republicans driven out, the Rectors finally acknowledged Butcher. For her bravery, she was recommended to be promoted to Griffin Marshal, but she declined, insisting she only did her duty. Sabin would spend the rest of her years in Yale, where she has become a famous Griffin for her actions in the war, and her humble refusal of a promotion. You're probably going to get promoted anyways at some point. I mean, you are a war hero, so you're easier to promote even. So you probably will. Heinz Featherhoof was born in 941 in the town of Asselt in Griffinmarschen. Born to a local merchant of the petite bourgeois class, Featherhoff's father managed to secure his son a post to Loughborough Academy at the age of 18, where he studied as an infantry officer before joining the Imperial Army. During his 30 years of service, Featherhoff fought in the Republican uprising, gaining the rank of lieutenant colonel. After his tenure in the army, he rejoined the alma mater as a professor. Recently, he has shown an affinity towards the Radical Red Guard, and is seen as the only senior staff who openly supports their views. I don't like that. Okay. General Aphel von Kuchen. Aphel von Kuchen is a young, lesser noble chick from the city of Yale. In accordance with her parents' wishes, enlisted in the university and Maidenholm in 1001 to study economics. It did not take long for her to realize that this study was not for her, and she decided on a radically different path. After convincing one of her professors to lie to her parents about her study, she enrolled in the Clamar Academy in 1003 and quickly became a star student of the institution, stealing some fame from her senior on the academy and prodigy himself, Peter Zuckergriff. During her time in Clamar, it became clear to her that she wanted to stay with the Galish army. Eventually, she made friends with her senior and academy rival, Peter Zuckergriff. Although the two still don't agree on the methods of warfare, after Peter graduated and left Clamar, there were few students who could keep up with Aphel. In 1005, while being still a student at Clamar, she got invited into the Imperial Army to join as a Fahnrich, and while she has technically not finished her schooling yet, a chronic shortage of staff officers and a few good words from Peter got von Kuchen her position. Thus, with her parents still in the dark about her choice in life, the newly minted officer knew her future. Your parents don't even know, and you're a straight-up, commander in our military? That's amazing. You are awesome. No, I don't want that one. I want everyone else, and I want you guys to all get to the one that's better. Alright. Okay. Let's also check, let's see, do we have any spies? We don't have one, so we can't see if we have any spies. We don't have a navy, so we can't see if we have any navy guys, and we do have a city. We have Greenback. Greenback, Yale's capital city and the host of the Greenback Academy of Medicine, is the largest city in the Rectorate and home to a large portion of its industry. The Greenback Academy of Medicine has done wonders for every Griffin in Yale and Griffonia as a whole, with new ways of saving the lives of thousands of Griffins pioneered every day. Magical potential has also been studied in Greenback more than any other Griffonian city, with biology departments studying day and night on what truly makes Griffins magical. Closest to Greenback University stands the Greenback Hospital, where the university's unique doctrine of pharmacology encourages students to seek the effects of their own drugs and medicine on local population, to truly ensure innocent Griffins are not being harmed. Thousands of staffers keep the healthcare system in Yale one of the greatest in all Griffonia, and though through trial and error, medical science has prospered. However, not all is well. In Greenback, a center of industry and pollution, the city is experiencing the full impact of industrialism. Behind the old half-timbered houses on the Kaiserplatz rise plumes of smoke from our factories, and the Angriver, which flows through the city, has been too polluted to drink from. However, many marvels have also been created from this new age, most beloved of which is the gigantic Station 1, the starting point of the Imperial Railway, a massive buildings whose waiting halls carry frescoes depicting all corners of the Grifonian Empire's height. To the west of the capital lies Greengate, home of the great University of Engineering, a smaller city where the divides of class are a lot less easily felt. To the east of Greenback stands Crucival, a city with red brick University of Social Sciences, whose griffins often go to Greenback to incite the local workers to protest for better working conditions. Now let's begin our focus tree. We're gonna just start by doing some simple subsidizing of industry while we wait for a guy to die. Although some of our more radical economics despise any government interference into the economy. Analysis have shown that there is much to gain from subsidizing our industries. A few key investments will give us the opportunity to innovate new production methods, which will give our factories an advantage over foreign competitors. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. We are geniuses, of course. Okay, so we want to get down to where? So I'm gonna go with Greenback. The Yale World's capital. Feedback. The Imperial train rolled into Station 1, the monumental railway station at the heart of Greenback, Yale's capital. The noise of the train was drowned out by the cheers of the railway workers and engineers who had gathered inside to see their emperor arrive. This wasn't the first visit of Grover, who had made the Imperial Railway a pet project of his. Rector Magnificus Mickelson, along with the head railway engineer, greeted Grover when he stepped out of his carriage. The Emperor looked sick and weak, and it almost seemed like each step was taking its toll on him. Mikazuan gulped as he shook the claw of the Emperor. It was that bad. The head engineer seemed to not care, still smiling proudly as he greeted Grover. He asked the question on every Griff's mind. Your Majesty, how is your trip so far? To the surprise of all, Grover smiled and answered. Your team did an excellent job. You managed to cut through some of the hardest terrain in the Heartlands, and some of the views were astonishing. The crowd exploded into cheers. Woo! Yeah, that's our Emperor! And even Mukazian managed to relax for a minute to listen to Grover speak. The Emperor continued his praise. Any Griffin who rides this railway will surely feel as close to every part of the Empire as I have. Thank you for... Thank you for the... Grover head bowed down as a fit of coughs continued. The crowd fell silent again, and Mikazian decided to step in and shield the Emperor. Let's go inside. It must just be the pollution. Once Grover was safely seated in the carriage again, the Rector Magnificent appealed to him. Greenback is the best hospital on the continent. Perhaps you could stay here. Whatever it isn't too late to... No, Mikazian, I must continue. I must finish this trip. Your Majesty, they need to see me one last time. Maybe you will understand someday. Mikazian fell silent. How could Grover still carry on? What drove him? The scientist felt that finding the answer might be key to solving Yale's problems. Have we engineered the Emperor's coffin yet? Because I think we might need to. invest in the capital. Greenback has been the beating heart of Yale since the Industrial Revolution kicked off. Many of the old cities in Griffonia, like Yale, grew decadent, and new centers of industry and culture took their place. With the city already being the home of our most important companies, we ought to incentivize them to expand their operations in the city. Yes, that makes sense to me. Alright. The Emperor is dead. Well, the Emperor has died. Grover, our Emperor, has passed away after touring the new Imperial Rail network. The Emperor of Griffonia had a troubled reign that saw the Emperor slowly fracture. This was positive for Yale to an extent that it provided us with greater autonomy from Griffonheim, as we could now force concessions on our overlords. However, our citizens are Hearstlanders through and through, bound by a shared culture and past to many griffins beyond our borders. Yale is economically mostly healthy and has a well-functioning government, but one could say it lacks a soul. With the Emperor gone, the common griffins are looking for new answers, and more of them seek to reinvent Yale in one way or another. The technocratic government led by the university has not managed to speak to the imagination of our citizens, which is leading more and more griffins to search for other answers. Something has to replace the place the Emperor had in the identity of the Yalish Rectorate. Might have to reinvent itself if he wants to continue like this. Oh boy, that's not a great sign. Let's just do this so I don't lose any manpower from that. Societal divides. With the Emperor's death, tensions have exploded as various factions pull Yale in the direction they believe will save it. That doesn't sound great. I'm sure we'll make it through just fine, right? I mean, what could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? Probably nothing. I think we're all gonna be fine. What do you guys think? Do you think we're gonna be completely and utterly fine and nothing at all will go wrong ever? I think that's right, you know? Why would anything go wrong? Ever. There we go. And then we'll focus on some more guns next. Alright. Now we're gonna go down here. But I think this is a good time to go ahead and end this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.